Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. I'm your host, Chris Salem. If you just found us here at the TALRadio.org website, welcome. Again, TALRadio offers a wide array of different podcasts across many different content areas, so you get to enjoy any type of content that might best suit you both on a personal and professional level. Business Influencers now has been with TALRadio since the beginning. 4 years ago, we just celebrated our over 200th episode a few months ago. And again, we are committed to your success in raising your level of influence here at Business Influencers. And again, we'd like to thank our loyal listeners that have been with us since day one, and any new listeners that have just joined us. Not only can you listen and subscribe to this show at the TLRadio.org platform, but also on Spotify, Apple, and also our YouTube version for if you like to watch the video. You could also watch us there. So we highly encourage you to check us out and subscribe to all 4 areas. That way you don't miss a show each and every week where we're covering great insights from subject matter experts and how you can raise your level of influence, and no matter what that is, to create more impact on your purpose. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. It is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you here today. We're going to be talking about the empathy advantage. And I'll tell you, we need more empathy, not sympathy, but empathy. The empathy advantage, how lived patient experience creates exceptional healthcare leaders. I personally have an interest in this particular area since I do speak myself at various healthcare conferences, and I'm looking forward to what Cynthia has to share today. Her name is Cynthia Gormezano, and a little bit of information about her before we introduce her. She is the founder and CEO of Cynergy Physical and Occupational Therapy, New York City, a premier orthopedic physical therapy practice she established back in 2001, starting from a tiny 150 square foot office. As a solo practitioner, she has grown the company to 7 locations throughout the greater New York City area that includes Brooklyn with 30 providers and approximately 50 employees. She is a licensed physical therapist with a master's degree from Nova Southeastern University, who initially studied international policy at Hebrew University at Jerusalem before pivoting to healthcare. What makes her story truly remarkable is her personal journey of resilience. She's a 3-time lymphoma survivor. She grew her business while undergoing cancer treatments, getting married and having children she was told she might never have. And 2 years ago, she faced another health crisis when diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, a result of her chemotherapy, and underwent double lung transplant. Boy, her resilience is going to shine through. And with that being said, without further ado, we welcome Cynthia Gormezano to the show. Cynthia, how you doing today?
Wow, that was some introduction. Woo!
Wow.
A lot of mouthful.
Well, before we start, talking about this topic of the empathy advantage, you are you are an example of this empathy. I've been going through cancer and your resilience through this process. Can we talk about that? Because that is just so powerful. And you could be a shining light for so many people that might be letting a health issue or something else hold them back to where they are and where they want to go.
So let me just start by saying thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I became a physical therapist because of my personality. I love being around people. I love communication. I don't like being alone. I don't like being behind a desk. I like chatting. I like communication. And I just like being around people all the time. I'm an extrovert and I like making an impact because it feels good. So I became a physical therapist because I wanted to be around people. And then my journey, when I graduated PT school, I started working in the hospital and I was the social butterfly of the orthopedic floor, and I was organizing all the happy hours and intermingling with the residents and PTs and OTs. And it was just a profession that was made for me. And a year after I graduated PT school, my father suddenly died, and I was left with a hole in my life I didn't know how to cope with. It was a very big loss for me. He was my everything. I think I am everything I am because of who my father represented and how he raised us to be compassionate, empathetic, and hardworking.
Yeah.
And when he disappeared from my life at 26, I was floundering. And I couldn't deal with grief. I had a really comfortable life growing up. My parents are amazing people. And once I had to segue and figure out life without him, I struggled.
Yeah.
And because I struggled, I had this deep, profound grief. I didn't know how to manage, and it ended up manifesting in lymphoma. And at 27, diagnosed with lymphoma, it threw a whole nother wrench into the world. I was a physical therapist. I was working in a hospital. I got stellar care. It's like the best cancer to get, having Hodgkin's. So I went through the treatment. I was fine. I was in remission. My body was strong. I reacted not great to some of the chemos, but I persevered through. I got to the other side. And once I finished treatment, I knew I wanted to do something different. And I had an opportunity to start my own practice. So I had gone through chemo for 6 months, and I knew that I wanted a different feel. I didn't want to be around like the hospital setting where my father had post-operatively had a stroke and then died. I wanted a different setting. And so that led me to opening my own practice. And it was the most fun thing I ever did. Physical therapy and working, I never feel like I work a day in my life. I hang out with young people, I hang out with old people. I get them back to running, I get them back to feeling good. And it's just sort of a joke that I get paid to hang out with people. So that's how it began. And after a year of being on my own in a small 150 square foot space within a doctor's office, I knew I needed to expand. And when I expanded, I hired my own receptionist and I moved into another office, and lo and behold, about a month after I moved in, I had relapsed with Hodgkin's. When you relapse, I was 31, I was single, living in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. It was really stressful and daunting, and it was like I thought I was done with Hodgkin's. And so I had to make some decisions. I decided to take a riskier treatment, and I decided to do more chemo and radiation instead of having a stem cell transplant because I wanted to preserve the ability to have a baby and family.
Yes.
And so I did a calculated risk, and I thought that I would do okay with just like more chemo and not take away any option I had of having a family. So I went through chemo, but I stayed focused on working. I would go to chemo on Thursday afternoons and I'd come back to work on Monday. But it was hard. I would treat patients. I would like go to the bathroom, vomit, not feel good, take a nap, wake up and treat patients, then go back. And patients would often say, I can't believe you're doing this. But it made me feel good. And then I in turn made them feel good. So it was a cycle. And while going through chemo and working, I knew the environment I wanted to be in had to be one of wellness and healing. And people would say, I can't complain to you about my knee, you're going through so much. And I would say, everything is relative. Knee pain is debilitating, you can't walk. You can't function. You can't ride your bike, you can't swim. That in your world is everything. I will get through this just like you will get through this. And so that level of empathy can translate into what is possible. And so that was the evolution. And I started doing triathlons and I started doing 100-mile bike rides once I finished that treatment. I got very active and involved in sports and endurance athletics and races, which helped in turn grow my business. And then again, every patient I interacted with, I had a different level of experience, whether it was like grief I can relate to from someone experiencing something sad or like a physical health challenge or anything. I was always able to connect on a deeper level to people. And that connection does help create a bond with your patient.
Yes.
To help improve healing.
It is so true. And first of all, I want to, I know it's never easy to lose a parent. You and I have parallel lives. I lost my father at a young age at 56. I was like 31 years old at the time. And I also had a health issue in my 20s. It was not cancer, but it was a very aggressive tumor that was growing around my spine, except I was a textbook case for Sloan Kettering in New York City at the time when that happened. But all of mine had to do with my own emotional state of being that I believe caused that tumor. It was just, I had a lot of anxiety and stress.
Yeah, that it manifests. It's crazy.
It
right?
manifests itself. Yeah. So when you were talking about that, it just resonated. What I remember going through. Through your experience, what you just shared, it's just powerful. And again, I give you kudos for your resilience. You were treating patients when you were going through this, which a lot of people probably wouldn't have done. That shows your commitment to what you love to do and serving others. And
yeah.
So you are the prime example of the empathy advantage. And talk a little bit about why empathy is so important now in today, in this case, for healthcare leaders that are serving patients. And I know I've learned about empathy over the years, and I'd love to hear your from your experience and what you do in this area, like what that is, and how you could share that with any of the healthcare leaders that listen to the show. Yeah.
Healthcare keeps morphing, right? It's all about numbers. It's all about productivity, and we're getting paid less and less per visit. So the way to set yourself apart is by providing stellar care, a stellar experience. How do you do that? You have to connect to patients. The world, we're here on Earth to connect to other people. COVID was so bad for everybody because we didn't interact with people. The gift in healthcare is we're interfacing with people and their stories. If you don't take a moment to connect deeper, you miss an opportunity to create deep impact. I just find people followed my story over the years. I was diagnosed the first time at 27, and now I'm 53. People followed my story the whole way. When I was having my lung transplant, patients I saw 20 years ago were following my story. Wow. Because I left a lasting impact, and I didn't do it consciously. It's just how I roll. I will always choose the optimistic path, the positive path. It's easier. I find it lighter. I find it more comforting. I can't dwell in the negativity. And so that empathy translates into positivity, because you can connect and it's going to be okay. Nothing lasts forever. Pain doesn't last forever. Things are ephemeral. So in healthcare, recognizing that it's not permanent, we will get to the other side. It just makes the process more bearable, and to constantly look at the light at the end of the tunnel. That's how I function personally. And then every challenge that has arisen since has been the same. I just finished writing a book and I'm editing it now, but when I sat down to write it over the past 8 months, the common theme was always, it will be okay this, it will be okay this, I just have to get through this. And it's similar, when I had my lung transplant, I had to cope with that diagnosis. I had to deal with it. And it was scary, but I knew I would be okay. And people would say, you have to, don't worry, that's not my story. I'm going to get there. I just have to get there. That's my story. And everybody's different in how they cope. I don't minimize anxiety and stress. And if you have that anxiety and stress, you have to manage it with the possibilities, what there is that can do. It makes healthcare more manageable. It takes away the sting of all the insurance craziness and the third parties, what they're trying to do to healthcare. It creates a connection that otherwise can't be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And to me, what you just demonstrated, what you've shared so far here on the show for our listeners, you're being the example. You're allowing, I can feel it through your communication, your body language, your tone of voice, your words, your behavior in alignment with that, your attitude that it's happening for you, not to you, your emotions. You responded to this challenge, not reacted to it. I'm not saying we're human and we don't react from time to time.
Exactly.
But we
it's not
respond.
Like I don't have bad days.
And you took action. You took action to take care of yourself. But at the same token, you didn't want to get lost in woe is me, and you still worked and you did what you love to do, and that was treating other people. And that to me, and like you said, that to me, it's that empathy that helps me to create an experience. If I'm going in to get treatment, I'm going to feel more confident, especially if I'm thinking that something might be wrong with me and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. And it's just powerful, like with this approach. What would you recommend, like a healthcare leader that's listening right now that says, God, this really, really touched my soul, and I want to start adopting, changing our culture, starting from the inside out, and how we can start leading from empathy to create better experiences for our patients?
I think it's critical to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
Taking a moment to really feel what they might be experiencing. Everybody comes to the table with different stories and baggage. Oftentimes when you have like a conflict in an office, if a patient walks in and is upset and we have to diffuse the situation, I remind people they're in pain. Remember why they're acting like this. Take a moment and try to empathize with why they're being so reactive. And just take a minute to de-escalate and hear them. And that's sort of how we lead. And we walk a patient from the front to the back. We take a moment to keep eye contact. We do focus on one-on-one care, which is very difficult in this environment.
Yeah.
We're trying to muddle through that. It's challenging though. The landscape is very challenging in healthcare. They're making it very difficult. And people don't want to go into healthcare anymore.
Well, yeah, like you said, because it's not like back in the day, like a doctor could come to your house, right? You don't see that anymore. I haven't seen that in years.
We're talking about like even a doctor looking at you while you're in their office instead of doing the dots of the chart. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely changed, and it's very business. It's always about dollars and cents because so many healthcare providers are owned by private equity companies.
And that, I didn't even want to get into that whole topic, but yes, it's a full-on business and they're trying to squeeze every profit dollar out, and that's challenging.
Yeah. And that does impact what we can do and what we can't do. So like you said, but what you can do is that, is that human element, like you just talked about. And,
it gets hard when the challenges are hitting on top of you, and when the insurance companies aren't paying and you can't meet payroll, and that sort of like sucks the energy out of you. So you have to constantly be blocking and tackling. Yes,
exactly. Yes. But I think what it sounds like you're so resilient. You adapt to what is.
Yes.
Because we can't change people. We can't change most, if not all, most situations. We can't, only a portion of what we can control with it. But nonetheless, you adapt and you rise to the occasion and you do what's best with what you can do.
That's right. Look at what you have, what you can handle, what you can control.
Yeah.
Like you can't control what happens to you, but you can just control how you react to it.
Exactly.
I just always say they can't break me. That's it. No matter what happens, they won't break me.
I love it. And that ensures that confidence in your patients, because they can see it. They can see that you have their back. They get that, whether if they know that consciously or not, they just get that feeling that this person gets me and I feel comfortable that they're going to do what's best for me, not what's best for them only, so to speak. And I think that, more organizations need that, not only in healthcare, but just any industry out there, especially when they're interacting, with the end user or the client. In this case, for your business, it's the patient.
It's also your team members, right? You have to have empathy for them too.
Yes.
When they get overwhelmed and they're busy and they're being
Correct.
Told you have to see 12 patients a day and get your notes done, you have to hear them too.
Because like you said, it's like, for like the experience I learned when I had all this stress and anxiety, because I lived in this world where I was always attached to the control I couldn't control. So I always reacted, and I had stress and anxiety, and I was angry. And that, like we talked about, how it manifested itself physically into, cancer or some other health issue.
I believe that to be.
I believe that's what killed my father. My dad died of lung cancer, but it was all, he hadn't smoked in years, but it was all stuffing his, he never expressed emotion. It was just,
wow.
But what you just said just made me think about what people, like, it's an inside out approach. What you do on the inside will reflect outward to the patients you're serving. So if you have a team that is together and that can communicate at a high level, can understand and relate to each other's role and duties, more likely that's going to lend itself to creating a better experience to the patient that can pick up on that. And Whereas if we're not getting along and we're not communicating right, yeah, we can pretend that everything's okay and put a smile on it. Everyone has a smile on their face, but somehow you pick up on that something's off. Something's off there.
You have to really believe it in your core. You have to really stay connected to your core values.
Yes.
And emulate those through like a lived experience.
Exactly. I love what you're sharing here, and it's so genuine and authentic. What else, as we get near the end of the show, what else can you share that you feel with the empathy advantage can really help healthcare leaders with what they can control, create a better bond, but not only to do it for the ratings and that type of thing, but doing it because it's coming from those core values that you talked about, integrity and treating that person just like if it were a family member, that type of thing.
We live in a very stressful world, and healthcare is even more stressful because there are so many factors that we can't control with reimbursement. So the things we can control is how we react, right? So staying true to our core values, reminding team members and redefining constantly your mission and your core values to keep you centered, and continuing to stay engaged in the community that you're in. So outreach to the community, making a difference in people's lives, because that's a positive cycle loop, right? Like when we make people feel good, it makes us feel good, so we keep doing it. So that sort of motivates me. We keep treating patients because they thank us for how much we make a difference in their lives. That's a positive loop.
Exactly.
I would just remind ourselves of our core values and our mission, and when it feels good, you just do it more, and it's a cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree, and that is so important. Wow, this is just really, really enlightening information. Your story's
so
powerful.
Nice. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, no. What would you like to conclude and leave the listeners, to kind of put everything together about the empathy advantage and creating better patient experiences? Anything that you want to connect the dots, like a statement, a high-profile statement?
No challenge is unovercomable. You can overcome any challenge when you do it with the right attitude, right? So remember where you come from and where you want to go, and ensure you stay true to your core values. Empathy leads, and it sets you apart. So no obstacle should be too big to overcome when you take into consideration empathy and your core values.
Yeah, absolutely.
Separates apart.
Wow, just powerful. Well, I want to thank you personally for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us here, sharing this insight. I also want to thank, let you know that the TALRadio.org team, as well as Touch of Life Foundation, appreciate you for being transparent and sharing your story and really enlightening our listeners about the empathy advantage. We want to make sure that the listeners get an opportunity to connect with you, get to know you better. Share with us, what is the best way to get in contact with you, anything that you're up to that you'd like to share, or anything else that you would like to provide the audience?
My website is cynergypt.com, cynergypt.com, and you can always reach out, just send an email through there. I'm working on a book. It should be out in like 6 months, called Moxie, and the tagline is a health practitioner's journey of resilience to healing.
Excellent.
So that's where it'll be.
Excellent. We'll make sure that when that book comes out, let us know. We'll make sure to put a little thing out there to promote it and get some more eyeballs on it for you.
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you for having patience scheduling this.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for your accommodation. We greatly appreciate you, and thank you again. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Cynthia to help share their personal experiences and wisdoms to help you move your operation, business, whatever that may be, through the power of influence, because it's through influence that you build rapport and trust and build stronger connections and collaboration to do bigger and better things. And if you would like to see future content and a future show that we have not covered, again, reach out to our team here at chris@christophersalem.com. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next week here at the same time. Take care.